Good evening. The Bachelor of Divinity students are taking their exam today, and their exam is on eschatology, the subject called eschatology. We're all aware that the subject eschatology deals with the things that are going to happen towards the end of this dispensation, which we also otherwise called as the end times. But the eschatology that we have discussed during the last semester for BD, Bachelor of Divinity students, is all about the biblical covenants, the study about the biblical covenants. We all know that there are 4 major covenants plus another major covenant, altogether 5 major covenants in the Bible. If you've ever heard about, so the only 2 covenants that we thought exist, or we all know exist, are like Old Testament and New Testament, like Old Covenant and New Covenant. But there are 5 major covenants in the Bible, amongst which one major covenant is Mosaic covenant, which is a covenant specifically temporary, specifically very much temporary in its nature, and a conditional covenant. The other 4 major covenants are unconditional covenants, eternal in nature, and literal. The Abraham's covenant, or which we otherwise call as the Abrahamic covenant, which is mentioned in Genesis chapter 12 beginning from verse number 3 to 4, 5, 6, 7, which is the basement for all the other 3 covenants, called Palestinian covenant, Davidic covenant, and the New covenant. So these 4 major covenants are unconditional, eternal, and literal. The Bible revolves around these 4 covenants. Anything and everything that we read in the entire New Testament and Old Testament revolves around these 4 covenants. If you want to understand the scriptures systematically, the way a Bible student should understand, the Bible believer should understand the scripture, you must have at least basic knowledge about these 4 covenants. Unless you have knowledge of the 4 covenants, you will not know the difference between the church, the Israel, and non-church, non-Israel people. Now, do we think or do we believe that apart from the church, there is a nation, Israel, existing now? Apart from the Gentiles, you have church now, you have Gentiles, and you have the nation called Israel. Now, do you think God is directly dealing with Israel the way He dealt with them during the Old Testament? The times are different, you know that, right? Now, how do we look at Israel? Should we now deal with Israel the way God dealt with them during the Old Testament times, or how? Is church going to take place? Is church taking the place of Israel? Or church is distinct from Israel? Some people say that country Israel does not exist anymore, does not have any future at all. It is a church that stands in the place of Israel. Now, church is described as a spiritual Israel. Since church is a spiritual Israel, then the physical Israel has no future. So the church inherits all the promised blessings, the covenantal promises and blessings of the Old Testament and the New Testament. And therefore, the Israel's existence is immaterial. Now, do you believe that? Israel has no future, and church is inheriting all the promises, covenantal promises. What does the Bible teach anything about it? The study about the biblical covenants gives you a clear picture, a clear understanding as to what is a covenant and who is the covenant maker, who are the recipients of the covenant, and the time expected for the fulfillment of the covenant. Now, there are legitimate legal recipients of every covenant. Now, if your grandfather has made a will, by law and by rule, you people become the legal heirs of that particular will because you share his blood and you descended from his loins. Now, as the Bible speaks about the biblical covenant, now are we, the church, the legal, legal heirs or people that inherit the covenantal blessings that were made to Abraham and David and Palestinian covenant and through new covenant? Now, you all understand that when there is new, there must be an old. Unless you have an idea about old, the concept of new is irrelevant here. Now, if you are not the recipient of the old covenant, you cannot be the recipient of the new covenant. Now, hence, if you want to have a broader and deeper and wider understanding of the biblical covenants, you must have a serious systematic study about these covenants. And Goodness Bible College and Seminary gives you that platform where you can come, sit and learn things systematically, be educated in the very Bible that you have in your hands and goes around holding it all the way. We once again invite you all to join us to study biblical covenants and many other subjects. The new batch begins January 6th, 2025. We invite you all to enroll yourselves and register early before the seats run out. Thank you.